My husband, Nestor, was anxiously waiting outside the operating room for his first love. I was separated from him by only a wall. When Pamela was wheeled out of the operating room, she weakly asked her husband, "Where is Sister Sabi? Why didn't she come with you?" Upon hearing my name, Nestor responded with clear disdain, "Don't worry about her. She's perfectly fine." But he didn't know that Pamela's new heart was mine. The nurse covered my corpse with a white sheet, announcing the end of my life. Although I was clearly dead, for some reason, my soul remained, hovering in mid-air. I watched as the doctors busied themselves in the operating room. I watched as Pamela's vital signs finally stabilized, and the doctors wheeled her out. Instinctively, I floated in her direction. Nestor was pacing at the door, his brows furrowed, his fingers unconsciously tapping the phone in his pocket. When he saw the doctor come out, he quickly stepped forward, his voice revealing his concern. "How is she?" The doctor stopped to address him. "The surgery was a success, thanks to the timely heart donation." Nestor's face relaxed slightly, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Do you know who the donor is?" "I would like to thank the family," he asked, catching up with the doctor. The doctor shook his head. "I'm sorry, Mr. Zhou. The donor requested anonymity, so we cannot disclose that information." Nestor nodded. "All right. If Nestor knew it was my heart that was given to Pamela, I wonder how he would react. Would he be happy that Pamela could live well, or would he be saddened by my death?" Thinking this, my chest suddenly felt a bit tight. How could I still feel something after death? I smiled self-deprecatingly. Soon after, my corpse, covered in a white sheet, was also wheeled out. I passed right by Nestor in the hallway. For some reason, he suddenly looked back, appearing momentarily dazed. Then he turned back and followed Pamela into the ward. Pamela was still asleep, and Nestor stayed by her bedside waiting. I floated between them like a third wheel. Realizing this, I retreated a bit. I suddenly remembered when Pamela once yelled at me, "Sabrina, if it weren't for your scheming, I should have been the one to marry brother Nestor." Nestor had also said, "Sabrina, you should know why I married you." Indeed, I was the third wheel in their relationship. But it didn't matter. I had already stepped back. Although it was involuntary, Nestor tightly held Pamela's hand, his forehead gently resting on the back of her hand. I quietly watched them, not knowing how much time had passed before Pamela's fingers twitched. Then she slowly opened her eyes. "Brother Nestor." Her voice was still hoarse from just waking up, and as soon as she spoke, Nestor's heart tightened. The moment Pamela saw Nestor, her eyes filled with tears. "Pammy, you're awake." Nestor quickly pressed the call button at the bedside to summon the doctor. "Brother Nestor, I thought I would never see you again." Tears streamed down Pamela's pale cheeks, making her look pitiful. Nestor's eyes were full of pain as he gently patted Pamela's hand. "No, everything will be fine now. You will recover." Seeing their affection, a surge of hatred rose within me. "Everything is fine for you, but what about me?" The doctor gave Pamela a thorough examination. Everything was normal, and she only needed to stay in the hospital for a while longer before she could go home. After the doctor left, Pamela cautiously asked, "Where is Sister Sabi? Why didn't she come with you?" Hearing my own name, I snapped out of my thoughts. Nestor's expression stiffened. He lowered his eyes, a hint of disgust in his voice. "Don't worry about her." Pamela responded with an "oh" and lowered her head, saying nothing more. But I clearly saw a faint smile on her lips. It was the same old trick, deliberately mentioning me in front of Nestor to test his reaction. Everyone could see her intentions except Nestor. After dinner with Pamela, Nestor checked the time and said he needed to go home. Pamela struggled to sit up, looking frightened. "Brother Nestor, I don't want to stay here alone, I'm scared." He took out his phone and checked it. There were no new messages. Nestor hesitated. "How about I ask Aunt Wong to come and stay with you?" Aunt Wong was our live-in housekeeper, responsible for Nestor's and my meals. "Can't you stay with me?" Pamela bit her lip, her voice growing softer. Nestor was silent for a moment, then unlocked his phone and opened our chat. Our conversation had stopped 2 days ago. The last message was from me saying, "Let's get a divorce." He had replied, "Don't make trouble out of nothing." Seeing Pamela look at him with red-rimmed eyes, like a little white rabbit, Nestor's heart softened. He sent me a message. "I won't be coming home tonight." I pursed my lips. I knew, but I couldn't reply to you anymore. Seeing Nestor agree to stay, Pamela finally smiled. "I knew brother Nestor was the best to me." Nestor patted her head, his voice full of affection. "I really can't say no to you." While he went to the water room to fetch water, Pamela took out her phone. She opened her secondary WeChat account and sent a message to someone with a completely black profile picture. "Is everything handled?" The reply was almost instantaneous. "Don't worry, everything is taken care of." A cold gleam flashed in Pamela's eyes. Dying and giving me her heart, at least she died for a good cause. So, she not only knew I was dead but was also involved in my death. Looking at my semi-transparent body and the smug Pamela, a surge of hatred rose within me. But there was nothing I could do. I could only watch her act sweet and innocent with Nestor, living well in this world with my heart. When Nestor returned with a thermos, he sat in the chair and began peeling an apple for Pamela. However, he seemed a bit distracted. His gaze kept drifting towards his phone, which was set aside. When the phone suddenly rang, it startled him, and the fruit knife nicked his fingertip. But he didn't bother to tend to the cut. Instead, he walked to the window to answer the call. "Hello, Sabi. Yes, I won't be coming home tonight." "What? She hasn't come back either." Nestor's face changed slightly. "I understand." He hung up the phone. Pamela saw this and quickly wrapped his finger with a tissue. "What happened?" she asked. Nestor shook his head. "Something came up at the company. I need to go." I was taken aback. The call was obviously from Aunt Wong, so why was he lying? Pamela didn't seem to notice Nestor's odd behavior and nodded obediently. "All right, go ahead then." Nestor picked up his suit and walked to the door. As he reached the door, he turned back and said, "Rest well. I'll come see you tomorrow." My heart stirred, and I decided to follow him out of the hospital. I wanted to see where he was going. On the way home, Nestor drove, his face serious, seemingly preoccupied. Whenever the light turned red, he would open our chat. Seeing no reply from me, he sighed and put the phone down. I was confused. What was he thinking? Was he expecting a reply from me? But he clearly despised me. To be honest, our marriage was an accident. We were schoolmates but in different years. He was 2 years ahead of me, and it was he who helped me when I was bullied in school. I had a secret crush on him but never dared to disrupt his life. After Nestor graduated, I heard he joined the family business and had a bright future. Knowing I wouldn't cross paths with him again, I buried those feelings deep inside. Not long after, my father fell into debt and committed suicide by jumping off a building. My mother couldn't handle the blow and soon passed away. To pay off the debt, I worked during the day and took on a night job as a hotel maid. The next time I saw Nestor was at the hotel. He was drunk and unconscious, being carried into the presidential suite on the top floor, and I happened to be cleaning the restroom. By chance, I overheard a phone conversation outside. "The drug is in. Hurry over, the room card is in the door gap." Then they left. I knew this wasn't something I should get involved in, but after confirming there was no one outside, I was about to leave. But before leaving, I glanced back and saw that the person lying on the bed was Nestor. His face flushed. He frowned, his eyes closed, and his long lashes cast shadows on his face. Should I help or not? He once saved me. Could I just leave him drugged here? After hesitating for a moment, I took the room card from the door gap and locked the door from the inside. I poured a glass of water and walked to the bed, trying to wake Nestor. When Nestor opened his eyes, he was groggy. He looked at me and suddenly called out, "Sabrina!" I was stunned. Did he recognize me? His expression quickly turned dazed again. "Senior, have some water and take a shower, okay?" I tentatively reached out and patted his shoulder. But Nesta grabbed my hand and pulled me forcefully towards him. After a dizzying moment, I found myself pinned under him on the large bed. He leaned in close, his breath hot against my skin, burning away my reason. My heart pounded wildly. "Senior, please wake up." I kept pushing at his shoulders, but he was beyond reason. His scorching kiss landed on my lips. My mind went blank, and I heard the last thread of my sanity snap. Everything spiraled out of control. Faintly, I heard urgent knocking on the door. Nesta cupped my face. "Sabi, focus." I didn't know how long it lasted, but eventually I fell into a deep sleep, waking only when daylight filled the room. Recalling last night, I sat up in fear, seeing Nestor still asleep beside me. I wanted to sneak out, but my movements woke him. He squinted at me for a while, seemingly trying to recall what had happened the night before. "What happened?" His face grew darker, as if he remembered something. My heart tightened and I stammered. It was an accident, but he didn't want to hear my explanation. He said it coldly. "Wait for me outside," before disappearing into the bathroom to put on a bathrobe. I stood there, biting my lip, overwhelmed by a flood of grievances. Why was he treating me this way? It was his loss of reason, so why did I have to bear the consequences? When he came out, he tossed a bank card onto the coffee table. 1 million. "Let's pretend nothing happened yesterday," he said. I stared at the card, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. With a hoarse voice I replied, "No need, nothing happened anyway." Then I opened the door and left the room. In the elevator, my legs felt weak, barely able to support me, and tears I'd been holding back finally streamed down my face. I tried to console myself as I cried. "Forget it. I'll just consider it as repaying him for saving me back in school." After crying my heart out, I resigned from the hotel that very day to avoid any further trouble. However, in my panic, I forgot to take the morning after pill. The next month, when I realized my period was late, I bought a pregnancy test kit, holding on to a faint hope. But the 2 red lines that appeared on the stick sent my mind reeling. To make matters worse, on the day I went to the hospital to schedule the procedure, I ran into Nestor. He walked past me in a hurry, bumping into me and causing my papers to scatter everywhere. As he helped pick them up, he apologized, but then froze when he saw my name and the abortion form. Nestor looked up at me in disbelief, meeting my evasive gaze. "You're pregnant." I stammered that it was none of his business and turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. "We need to talk." Thus, under the arrangement of fate, I married him while carrying his child. He paid off all my high-interest debts. After marrying him, I found out about Pamela, his childhood sweetheart. They had been engaged, but I had inadvertently come between them. However, the baby didn't survive. 4 months into our marriage, Pamela's constant provocations finally made me angry for the first time. She called my unborn child a bastard. She called me a wretch without parents. I tried to stay calm, but she pushed me from the second-floor staircase. In excruciating pain, I saw her face twist into a malicious smile before she clutched her heart and fell to the ground. By the time Nestor arrived at the hospital, our baby was gone. I sat on the bed in tears, but Nestor's face was dark as he questioned me. "Do you know that Pammy has a heart condition? She can't be stressed. What did you do to her?" I widened my eyes in disbelief. "I didn't do anything. You pushed me. Our baby is gone." But Nestor pursed his lips, looking at me coldly. "Pammy is a kind girl. She wouldn't do such a thing. Sabrina, you disappoint me." With that, he left without looking back. Since then, the only bond between Nestor and me vanished. He never touched me again, and his attitude towards me remained cold and distant. Pamela was pleased with herself, playing the innocent neighbor girl in front of Nestor while bullying and insulting me whenever he wasn't around. "Just wait, I will take him back," Pamela said arrogantly. But I never thought she would use such extreme means to take Nestor back, and in the process, she also took my heart. I had already signed the divorce papers. I had planned that once Nestor signed them, I would leave this city without hesitation. However, she had no intention of giving me that chance. Early one morning, Pamela tricked me into leaving the house. She told me Nesta was in trouble and that I should go to Genhua Road and wait for her there. Although Genhua Road was remote and I had some doubts, I still went because it was about Nestor. To my surprise, when I arrived, I was met with a premeditated car accident. I don't know when Pamela set her sights on my heart or how she managed to forge my consent form for donation. But as a person without family or connections, my disappearance wouldn't matter to anyone. She succeeded. I closed my eyes for a moment as Nestor suddenly braked the car. Oh, we were home. As soon as we entered, Aunt Wong greeted us, saying to Nestor, "Sir, Madam hasn't returned yet." Nestor frowned. "Got it. When did she leave?" Aunt Wong recalled. "It was around 8 in the morning. She got a call and then went out." Nestor nodded, indicating for Aunt Wong to continue with her work, then turned and went straight upstairs to my room. The room was just as I had left it. Nestor checked my wardrobe and found all my clothes and luggage still there, which gave him some relief. He sat on the sofa, took out his phone and sent me another message. "Where did you go? How strange, why was he so intent on finding me today?" I watched him wait for a few minutes. Just as he was about to call me, his gaze fell on my desk. There were a few papers on it. Nestor stood up and picked them up. They were the divorce papers I had signed. His face instantly darkened. Clutching the divorce papers tightly in one hand, he dialed my number with the other. "The number you have dialed is switched off. Please try again later." The cold automated message made his face even darker. My phone had been shattered in the car accident. How could I receive his call? Watching his unusual behavior, I found it amusing. He had been indifferent to my life and death before, but now he was so anxious after my disappearance. It was ironic. He took out his phone again and sent me another message. "Stop being stubborn, come back when you're done causing trouble." Reading those words, an inexplicable sadness welled up inside me. When would he finally realize that I had left him forever? The next morning, Nestor brought a meal prepared by Aunt Wong to the hospital to visit Pamela. "Brother Nestor." Pamela's eyes lit up the moment she saw him. "These are your favorite dishes. Eat more so you can get better quickly." Nestor gently laid out the food on the small table. Seeing his attentive behavior made me catch my breath. Oh right, I shouldn't be breathing anymore. In any case, I felt very sad. Because Nestor never remembered what I liked to eat. Or rather, he didn't care about my preferences at all. I don't eat scallions or spicy food. But the first time we had a meal with Pamela, he chose a Sichuan restaurant because Pamela likes spicy food. They chatted warmly while I barely touched my food. Pamela looked at me half-jokingly and said, "Sister Sabi, don't you like the restaurant Brother Nestor chose? Or do you just not want to eat with me?" Nestor's gaze towards me turned somewhat inquisitive. "No, I'm just not very hungry today." I had to force myself to eat a few bites of the oil-drenched boiled meat slices. I endured the discomfort to accompany them through the meal, but I ended up with a stomachache when I got home. It hurt so much that I had to go to the emergency room in the middle of the night. What did Nestor say back then? "How can you be so delicate? You get like this from just one meal. Pammy is perfectly fine." I was too pale and speechless, ending up staying in the hospital for half a month. I snapped out of my thoughts and saw Pamela pouting and acting spoiled. "Brother, can you feed me? I don't want to move." Nestor chuckled. He was about to agree but seemed to remember something. His words changed to, "Pammy, you're a grown-up now. You can't always have your brother feeding you." Pamela was stunned, not expecting him to refuse. Floating nearby, I recalled the argument we had before. "What do you take me for? And what do you take Pamela for?" Nestor had replied, "Pammy and I grew up together. She's like family to me. Sabrina, stop being unreasonable. No matter how much like family you are, both adults now. Shouldn't you keep a proper distance? If you want to be with her, I'll leave. Our marriage was an accident anyway." I had cried bitterly. If it weren't for saving him, I shouldn't have had to go through all this. Nestor hadn't expected me to be so upset and was momentarily flustered. Don't cry. I'll be more careful in the future. Could it be that he remembered my words and that's why he refused Pamela? I couldn't help but wonder. Then I felt I was being foolish. Nestor didn't love me. Why would he care about what I said? Brother Nestor, are you getting tired of me? Pamela pouted, her eyes glistening with tears. Nestor panicked and quickly grabbed a tissue to wipe her tears. No, don't get emotional. It's not good for your heart recovery. I will never get tired of you. Pamela continued to cry while leaning her head on Nestor's chest. Nestor's body tensed, but he didn't push her away. Instead, he reached out and gently patted her back comfortingly. Watching Pamela's pretense, my heart surged with hatred. She had harmed my child and me, yet she could still act coy in front of Nestor with my heart. Brother Nestor is the best to me, Pamela sobbed. If Sabrina hadn't seduced you, would you have married me, Brother Nestor? What if Sabrina were gone? Would you be with me then? I'm no longer a burden, my heart condition is cured. I won't drag you down. Pamela clutched his sleeve, her face stubborn. Nestor sighed. Since I promised your parents I'd take care of you, I won't break that promise. Don't worry, even though I'm married, I won't abandon you. As Nestor sat by Pamela's hospital bed, I hovered nearby, invisible and forgotten. The days blurred together. He never returned to our empty house, never checked on my things, never seemed to notice I was gone. His phone buzzed with work messages, but no frantic calls asking where I was. No worried texts, just business as usual. Pamela recovered quickly, her stolen heart beating strong. Stronger than mine ever did, apparently. Strong enough to fuel her schemes, her manipulations, her triumphant smile whenever Nestor brought her flowers. I watched him fumble with his phone one evening, finally typing out a message he never sent. Thinking of you. But it wasn't to me. That's when I realized the truth wasn't just cruel. It was boring. There would be no dramatic confrontation, no last-minute revelation that I was still watching, still waiting for something that never existed. Nestor had moved on and Pamela had won, and I was just lingering. So I stopped lingering. I let go of the anger, the hurt, the desperate hope that someone might notice I was missing. I stopped replaying our last conversation, stopped watching Nestor's empty gestures toward a woman who'd never needed saving. I was tired. More tired than I'd been in that hospital bed. More tired than I'd been my entire sad, accidental life. I closed my eyes. Really closed them, not just blinked away, and felt myself start to fade. Not with a bang or even a whisper, but with the quiet relief of finally being allowed to rest. Let them have their happily ever after. It was never mine to begin with. The last thing I saw was Pamela's smile, bright and sharp as a scalpel, and I finally understood. Some hearts are meant to be broken. Even the ones that keep beating.